right, you guys ready? All right, hello everyone. I'm Beth Brooke with Ernst & Young, and we are delighted to be with you this afternoon as we head into our evening. McKinsey said this morning in their presentation of their research how critical tone at the top was in an organization in providing for the advancement of women. Well, I am pleased to have this tremendous tone at the top panel where I think you'll get some insights into just how terrific and great some tone at the top is. There's a group called CEO Champions, and they've been meeting all afternoon today. In fact, they've met every year at the Women's Forum for the last 3 years. Who are they? They are a group of male and female CEOs, CEO champions, and they are individuals who care deeply about the advancement of women. They care about sharing insights and ideas, best practices and worst practices, how to lead more effectively, and just how to be really out there on this issue. So I want to introduce to you the companies that are part of this CEO Champions group. And I'm not going to ask them to stand so we don't have to pull up the house lights, but they're in the audience, many of them. The companies that are part of the CEO Champions group are Altran, Bain & Company, Baxter, Boyden, Diversio, Ernst & Young, Orange, Hall Capital Partners, Latham & Watkins, Mazars, McKinsey & Company, MSL Group, ProMajor, Publicis Group, Renault-Nissan Alliance, Santa Fe, Sodexo, Solera Capital, the Coca-Cola Company, the Women's Forum, and the Women's Private Equity Fund. So let's give them all a round of applause for being CEO champions. Now, 3 of them agreed to be on our panel today. The lucky ones. So let me introduce our panel. Michelle Landau, I'm sure you all know, the CEO of Sodexo. And Michelle, also congratulations on winning the Catalyst Award this year. That's a great honor for Sodexo. Dominique Renish, who is the president of the Coca-Cola Group, Coca-Cola Europe Group, Europe. I gave Dominique a worldwide promotion. And Stéphane Richard, the chairman and CEO of Orange. All right, everyone in this room wants to know what you talked about today. So let's get going. We've got 30 minutes. Dominique, let me start with you. McKinsey, in their research this morning, told us that if you don't have process and you don't have measures, you won't get results. And I know Coca-Cola has process and measures, and the issue is results. McKinsey also presented out, for those of you who saw their presentation, the 4 quadrants. And the 2 on the far side were companies that have a lot of efforts and aren't having a tremendous amount of results, questionable results, and companies and that was 66% of the companies, as I recall. And then the upper quadrant was companies that have a lot of effort and get a lot of results, 16%. Which bucket is Coke in and why?
In all honesty, I would say that we are in the box of making a lot of efforts and getting very significant results, but there is no reason to be complacent because it's a long journey. We have started by thinking big because we said, equality of gender doesn't only mean equality of salary because we take this as a given at Coca-Cola, but it also means really having 50% of women everywhere, and this is what we call our Vision 2020, because we are far from it at the senior level. We are very close to it or above it at the junior levels, but we are still far from it at the top levels. So we took it seriously, and we said, let's start internally, because the first thing before you start, giving lessons to the rest of the world is to put your own house in order. And so the good thing is that it started at the top. My boss, Muhtar Kent, who was in telepresence in Deauville, for some who will remember, really decided to initiate and sponsor the initiative because he thought it was really a strategic shift for the company, which is true. And so we knew that who was the sponsor? The sponsor is the boss. And I think this is the number one prerequisite. It has to start at the top. The second thing I like very much about the way he organized it was he said, instead of deciding what to do, he empowered women in all geographies and also in all functions, so 2 per geographies to be precise, and a few by function, to constitute what he called the Women's Leadership Council and take the accountability of defining the action plan. And I think this is also good to put women in charge of their destiny, to empower them. Then, number 3, we put, as you said, Beth, the processes and the key business indicators in the right place, which is where we manage talent. So now all our talent management sessions include a measurement of results. We have committed to start all our talent reviews by the female talent review to make sure, you know, we accelerate the change of culture and mindset. And also we have agreed that we would quote numbers. There is no magic number, because what we think is there is a starting point which is different in all entities. The important thing is to make regular progress and to measure progress. And so we have also put together this system of measurement, and we review it on a quarterly basis. And of course, we play on stimulation between groups and between functions to create some fun and some, you know, everybody wants to win in the game. So I think we took it seriously because we measure what we do, and everybody knows that what gets measured gets done, and this is what we put in practice. We also put together training and mentoring programs, and we also established a network of women, because training is also more important than what we think. And we said 50% of women, even when they are underrepresented, 50% of women will attend all the training sessions. And we also said when we uncover potential in the female pool of resources, they will get a mentor. And of course, the mentor can be a male or a female. So basically, that's how we conducted it. What is very important is it's a process, it's a journey, so it must not stop. We must stay very vigilant.
Michelle, I know you're very focused on measurement. How about with you and Stefan? Take, just for the sake of the audience, 30 seconds each maybe on, just give us the factual snapshot of where you are in Sodexo.
Well, it's very difficult. I'll give you the numbers, actually, because what, Dominique just said it, what gets measured gets done. So, after 10 years of this effort, we are at 38% women representation at the board of Sodexo, 25% at the COMEX. We set an objective back 8 years ago to move the top 100 people from 16 to 25. We're at 23, 25 by 2015. We're at 23. We won the Catalyst Award, and we're very proud of it. We also do engagement surveys, and they are very, very important. And to the question of, is the company getting more, inclusive? For the last one, which was 2 years ago, this year we increased 5% in a very difficult climate. So I think we can be proud of this. And, the other thing is, this is very, very in connection with the mission that we have to improve quality of life, and that's what we deliver. And we have to do that first for our people. So we're very proud of achieving those things. But we have a long ways to go. It's a long, long journey.
Stefan, how about you?
Orange, it's 170,000 employees in 35 countries. And among those employees, we have 36% of women. What is the situation today? I would say the situation is good, but we have to be much, much better. The situation today is that we have 1/3 of our board members being women, which is, I think, a good result.
It's good.
We have, I would say, only 2 women in our executive committee, but 2 remarkable women. We have 4 country CEOs being women in difficult countries like Iraq or Moldavia, Niger, Botswana. remarkable women also. And we have set to ourselves the target, which is to reach 35% of women in all executive positions in the group. It requires an in-depth work, and it will require clearly a few years to reach this target. I could only mention two things. The first is in the management of our big network levels, we have now talent pools with 50% of women, because clearly if we want more women to be promoted, we have to identify and to manage a pool, a talent pool with more women than men. So this is I think a good example. And I also believe that the women that we have in our organization, like the two members of our executive committee, have a specific and personal role also to play within the organization to promote the idea.
Excellent. And I'm sure those two women get a lot of pressure to be role models for a lot of people. Michelle, you are, by the nature of the applause when I introduce you, you are seen as an absolute pioneer on this issue. You've been at it for a long time, and you've been an inspiration to many of us, and you've been a CEO champion from the start, a real stalwart. When you look more broadly, not just within Sodexo, but more broadly across society, where do you rate the private sector on whether the private sector has made enough progress, or do we need to really shake things up? Do we need a game change? Where do you put us on the continuum as a society on this issue?
Well, I think, yes, we are making progress, and I think we just, have a few examples of this progress. But when we see the gap between, the women representation in companies or in organization or even in politics and where it should be, which probably should be at 50% plus, because there are, more than 50% women in the world, I think we are very, very far. So, and in all our companies, we also know that these processes takes a lot of time. So yes, we have to shake things up. And I believe that what we really need, we talk about quotas, we don't, this is this debate, and which is a taboo word. We don't talk about this because I think it afraids everyone. On the other hand, there are examples of quotas where it has worked. I think it might be interesting to develop quotas for a certain period of time to at least move the needle significantly. But if we don't call this quota, we call that objectives. But what we need, is fundamentally to have accountability. We have to have accountability. And in our companies, and I know that Stéphane has a very good example of this, and Dominique as well, the only way to move the needle is to set objectives, ambitious objectives, and to hold people accountable. And actually have a system of, it should be part of the pay, And as long as people have at the end, a reward or, not a reward, I think things will move. I think we have to have the courage to do those things, because otherwise things will never move. We are in a situation where it's absurd, when there is only, in my company, 23% of executive being part of the 300. It's not acceptable. We have to do this much faster.
So you would...
No, it is difficult, but we need everyone. And, the thing is, one of the things which has been very difficult and which is difficult is to convince people that the business case is here. But it is here. And I believe that, at least in my business, I know that we have signed contracts because we had a vision about, diversity and inclusion, because we have worked very hard, because we have invested in this. I think it's good for companies. It's good for us. It's good for our business. And as long as we realize that and we push that forward, I think we can make progress, because frankly, again, I think the situation is not acceptable. But I take it personally, to be honest.
So, Michel, you would favor very clear and measurable objectives and aligning incentives so that the objectives have some teeth and the results have teeth. I guess, Dominique and Stefan, would you go so far as to want to make those public? Should we make those objectives and the results more public than we are?
I would say why not? Because I totally agree with what Michel said. There is a risk that we start now preaching to the choir, and we keep improving, and we know we have a long journey to go, but we keep improving within a small circle of companies instead of scaling the effort and really reaching a massive scale which we need for women everywhere in the world. And so I think that we have to use all available levers and disclosure of the goals and making it one of the standards of good companies and companies where people want to invest in may be a very good idea, because it may look like something which is in fantasy world, but frankly, this is also how it started when we started talking about companies being rated on their sustainability objectives. We thought, oh, it's a gadget, it will not last. Now it's very serious in the investment world. And so judging companies also on this criteria of gender equality and making it part of the corporate social responsibility of companies, I think, is an achievable goal, which would give us a tangible acceleration, and which would also bring new people to the party. We also discussed a lot this afternoon in our session about other ways to scale and speed up the movement faster. We said, of course, this CEO Champion Initiative should be part now of the Women's Forum model, whether it's in Brazil or in China later. It should come with the CEO Champion Initiative. And we also said that we should connect all these initiatives so that they are not only a yearly event, but really a working stream, which could be extremely powerful to attract new people.
And create a little peer pressure.
Yeah. And of course, create a little bit of stimulation.
We talked also...
stimulation.
That's right. We talked also today about the Australian model, going back to disclosure. In Australia, they have what they call an if not, why not regime, where you have to disclose not only your diversity policies, if you will, but also Michelle, your point, the objective, measurable objectives. So what's your targets? And then your results against the targets, so that stakeholders can weigh in on that. And when I say if not, why not, it's a voluntary disclosure, so you don't have to disclose those things, but if you don't, you have to explain why you didn't. So there's incredible peer pressure to disclose. Stefan, what's your view of that?
Well, first, to reach 35% of women in executive position is part of our Conquest 2015 strategic plan, which is clearly the strategic roadmap that we have set to ourselves in front of all our stakeholders, employees, shareholders, customers. So it's clearly a very strong and public commitment. And we have also 30% of the bonuses of the first 1,000 leaders of the company, which is based, 30% is based on a indicator, composite indicator, with a few KPIs within, and one being clearly our capacity to reach this 35% ratio. So I think that we have put in place a rather coherent, let's say, disposal in order to make it public, clearly, but also to have the tools, the means within the company to reach the objective.
Interesting. So you've got the compensation alignment as well, as Sodexo has. Does Coca-Cola have? Do you align compensation?
We have put the objectives of diversity into the appraisal reviews, so it's a part of the achievement, so it's a part of the compensation.
Interesting. Yes. Can I go back? French headquartered, French-based that you represent, and France has instituted its quota law. I want to pick up. You mentioned quotas, so let me go there. So you've implemented, you've gone through this process, or you're in the process of. What's it like to try to meet the quota now for boards, the 40% quota for women on boards? What's it like as a CEO?
Well, I think there are plenty of women able to be on boards. So I think it's a question of willingness and determination. You know, sometimes we have put women in situation where we say, you know, they're not capable, they don't have the experience, we shouldn't take the risks. This is really, I would be a little bit trivial, a little bit BS, you know, because frankly, at the end of the day, with all of us, we've taken risks. I was young, I was not competent when I took my job to be a CEO. By definition, before you become a CEO, you're not competent, right? So you have to. No, but that's true. So I think if we adopt this kind of I think there are a lot of opportunities.
Yes, I clearly think and confirm that there are a lot of women that are perfectly talented to be very good board members. And something which is very important to say is that we do not appoint women as board members because they are women, but because they just correspond to the profile that we have set to become a board member. And if I take the example of France Télécom, we were looking clearly for a prominent professional in the, let's say, HR domain, and we found a woman who is clearly, I think, one of the best professionals in that area. And we were looking also for a international, open-minded, and also very keen on technology in our industry to become a board member. And we found a woman who is perfectly, who fits perfectly this demand. So it is very important to say that we do not recruit women because we are looking for women, but because we just we are able to find now the good candidates, being women, to become board members.
Excellent. So has implementing the quota legislation in France, has it been hard or easy?
I think it's relatively easy because, once again, you know, it has revealed, in fact, a lot of people, of women, once again, that have executive positions in companies, or not, by the way. But it is true that, you know, it has created a momentum, which is, I think, a very positive move. And this is probably what you can expect from a like quota approach. I am not especially in favor of quota, but I think that regarding a very specific situation like how can we find more women to become board members, it is very efficient. Okay. It is very efficient because just it has forced everyone to really seek for, you know, profiles and women, and we can find some, once again. So it's not so difficult.
Okay. We talked about something this afternoon that I think the audience might find very interesting. We talked in terms of other levers that we can pull as major multinational corporations in the way we purchase services or the way we think about our supply chains. You want to describe any of that? Or Dominique, I know CocaCola specifically focuses on that.
Yeah, it's just the beginning because as I said, we think the first step was really to put our own house in order and make sure we are on the journey and we are making regular progress and measured progress towards the 50-50 goal, which is extremely ambitious. And then we discovered that it's not quick enough. And so one of the ways to help coalitions is also to involve people in our across the supply chain. So talk to our suppliers, talk to our customers, make it, you know, a preference for some type of procurement. So we think we have a very strong lever when we look at our supply chain until we get to customers. We also think
to put women in your women-owned businesses.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So we think we have to use it more. Because, again, we have to gather speed. Mm-hmm. Speed is of the essence. Let's not lose this momentum.
Yeah. Michelle, what kind of pressure do you get when you go out to sell the services of Sodexo? Do you ever get pressure, you know, to bring a diverse team to the table?
Absolutely. I think many of you have probably experienced that, being, you know, on either side of the table. Whether you are a buyer or you sell your business. Today, in our business, you know, most of the RFPs, which are global RFPs, include a big part about our diversity initiatives. And when you go to these presentations, it is, I think, very, very important to take this very seriously because, frankly, you might be sitting in front of 5 women who are purchasing your services, and if you bring, just a bunch of 5 guys, I think you are in trouble. So, but I believe it's very important. And when you lose, because those aspects, like the social responsibility aspect, are very critical in today's environment, and can make a difference. So I believe that having a strong initiative in diversity and inclusion, which actually becomes a part of the culture of the organization, is a big differentiator. And as we move forward, I think it would be stronger and stronger.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful when you think about it. If all of us in the room, one of our CEO champions is a law firm, global law firm. If all of us in the room required the legal teams that serve us and try to protect us, we required those legal teams to be diverse, we would help change that profession overnight. It's interesting. Let's talk a little bit. I know we've talked about our pipeline issues, but I know an issue that will be of interest to the audience, Stefan, is your issue isn't as much of a pipeline issue as it is a sourcing issue. And because you require very certain technical competence that isn't in great supply among women, so you've got a sourcing issue. What are you doing to resolve that?
Yes, I think that large companies like our companies have also a role to play to fight certain stereotypes that still exist in women's minds. And to some extent, we can say that this famous glass ceiling is also within women's mind from time to time. And I have an example of that, which is the access to technical jobs in our industry. We still have a very low proportion of girls, of young women studying technical, domains, like engineering schools, around 15%, and we need much more. So something that we have decided to do is to be present at school, so at a very early stage, to make girls aware of the potential of those technical jobs, and try to break, this bias that we still have regarding these kind of jobs. And more generally speaking, and this is something probably to think about, women, and especially young women, are less ambitious than men. To some extent, it might seem ridiculous when you see that among young people, 48% of young men see themselves as very extremely or very ambitious, a little bit ridiculous, but only 35% of women. So I think that we have also to make our young women maybe more aware of their capacities and make them a little more ambitious in this competition with the others.
Yeah, women definitely need role models across all sectors, for sure. Let me open it to the audience. If anybody has any questions, if not, I will keep asking. This is your shot we have with our great CEOs. Anybody? Okay, let me ask a question that probably is on your mind, which is the CEOs champions, as I said, have been meeting for the last 3 years. The question that might be on your mind is, well, what have they done? What do they accomplish? And the group was originally formed to just be a private group to share best practices, because we all know that we needed to engage male and female CEOs to have an opportunity for them to share privately their insights, their best practices, their worst practices, and to have a safe place to do that. And they've been effectively doing that for the last 3 years. But it is interesting. This year, I think there was a real sense of, all right, we need to do more. As Michelle said, we need to be role models and shake some things up and to use our collective voice in a more powerful way. Dominique, you alluded to this, and when you mentioned that as the Women's Forum goes out and holds events in other countries, that we should embed a CEO champions type effort in that. other thoughts about that came out of the group of next steps and what the group might be thinking about?
I think it may be interesting that aside from what we already mentioned, we need more coalitions that go beyond business. Maybe we could also embark some other people on the same cause, you know, like philosophers or like, you know, more media, also talk more to the media. And involve more society in trying to evolve the movement, because this is not only true for business, this also applies, as you said previously, to other parts where women are really significantly underrepresented. So I think now that we know what we have to do internally, we have not only to build a bigger business coalitions to embark more companies, smaller, from all the countries, etc., all sizes, but I think we should also embark other parts of the society, like in our golden triangle model that we like to work on at Coke, which is, I think, a new type of leadership for these new times, which is involving, you know, civil society, government with some prudence, but, you know, for quotas, etc., it can help sometimes, and also private business. So reach broader, be very ambitious.
Okay. Stefan, Michel? Next steps in your mind?
No, I think I think Dominique said it. I believe that it's true that for the last 3 years we have worked in this environment for a couple of days, you know, with the Women's Forum, and I think it is fair to say that each time we learn things, we get challenged, and we go back and we try to, you know, to improve year over year. I think we could probably do more work in between together, because each company is doing a lot of work, but we might you know, be able to do more work together to, you know, to in between session, if I may say, to improve faster.
Excellent.
Yes, it's clearly also what I think. I think the CEO champion was a very good, strong idea. Because, you know, the truth comes from examples also, and from reality. It's not only a debate, you know, on theoretical topics. It's also the reality of life in our companies. And in fact, I think it's a good idea to make this CEO champion kind of club being permanent, and to some extent trying to have a more consistent action regarding those issues than, of course, what it can do only on a once a year basis.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. And, you know, I have to applaud the Women's Forum for the perseverance to form the group, stay with the group, and nurture it along. The Women's Forum deserves a tremendous amount of credit. And I think what you've seen are some just incredible examples of the tone at the top and where it matters and what they've been able to do as CEOs. And the humility that these three individuals have in terms of what they've accomplished is phenomenal. I think what you all hear is, you know, you're hearing them, we need to make more progress, we need to do more, and they are doing so much. So you have all of our thanks for what you're doing.